Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you may be. Welcome back to Streaming Media Connect 2025, where this week it is all about live. I'm Steve Nathans Kelly, editor of Streaming Media Magazine and chair of Streaming Media Connect, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to our second panel of the day, Rethinking the Middle Mile for Live Streams at Scale. Before we get started, just a few housekeeping notes. The first person to correctly identify the music we were hearing as we started the session, who gets both the artist and the track name correct, will win a $50 Amazon gift card that we'll give away at the end of the session, but you must be present to win. So stick around to hear the conversation and then stick around at the end to claim your prize if you are indeed the winner. Let's see. We'll be chatting in the chat throughout the sessions, but if you throughout the session, but if you have questions for the panel, we'll get to as many as we can at the end. So put those questions in the Q&A so that they don't scroll away if there's a lot of talk in the chat. And let's see, sessions from all 3 days of Streaming Media Connect this week are already appearing on our YouTube channel. The link for the playlist where all those videos will live is also going in the chat. Closed captioning is available, so click that CC button to turn on closed captioning. And we will be right back here in Zoom in February 2026 for the first Streaming Media Connect of 2026. That'll be February 24th to 26th. The website isn't live yet, but the call for speakers is. So if you have a topic idea, or if you just want to participate, if you want to be a panelist, respond to the call for speakers. I'll be looking at those as soon as we're done with this one, and I'm putting together the program for the next one. So please do respond to that, and we'll see what we get. The program for that should be out sometime next week. Let's see. I think that's all the housekeeping notes I have to get started. So I want to welcome Bhavesh to the stage.
Hello,
There you are.
Steve.
Yeah, good to see you. Take it away.
Thank you so much. Hey, folks, we're going to be talking about rethinking the middle mile for live streaming at scale. I'd like to ask my speakers to please join me on the stage here. We've got Nishant Sirohi, the director of live video from Paramount, Marcos Petry, the head of streaming and CDN platform for Globo in Brazil, and Rob Collins, executive director of software development for STARZ. Gentlemen, good to have you here. Honored to have you here. I'm going to show it to you the way you guys are popping up on my screen. Give you a couple minutes to please introduce yourself. Marcos, you're first.
Sure. So, Max Petry here from Globo, Brazil. I'm the head of digital streaming platform. So everything happens after the play of the users is me that resolve here at Globo. For streaming the digital for our streaming platforms such as Global Play and Premiere, and also for the portals. We have some live events and VOD events of news, sports, entertainment portal that we deliver videos there.
Excellent. Nishant, you're next on my screen.
Hey everyone, I'm Nishant Sirohi. I work with Paramount. We're for a team called Central Video Tech Group. My team is responsible for live video workflows here, infrastructure that fuels all of our customer-facing streaming outlet, be it CBS Sports, Paramount Plus, Pluto, or network streaming app.
And I'm sure you guys have been busy as well too. Rob, great to have you here. You're also a veteran in the industry for quite a long time as well too.
Yeah, glad to be here. I'm with STARZ. I've been with the company about 9 years now. Came in as with background software development, high scale applications, and so forth. So when STARZ was getting serious about a direct to consumer offering for streaming, that's when I joined and helped build some of those systems. STARZ, let's say a few things about that. Been around for a long time, about 31 years as a premium cable channel, and then got early into streaming. There's, depending on how you define it, of course, it's maybe 20 years because, we're talking about real network partnerships and some of the things back in the day, Vongo with Netflix and on and on. Moved into a TV Anywhere offering, and then DTC as I came on. My teams do a lot of stuff in the middle mile. We have the DRM, the ABR packaging, and CDN distribution, and so forth. So yeah, they have my fingers in a lot of pies here at STARZ.
Excellent. Actually, I wanted to start off with you about that too, because you're with STARZ, you're presenting something that's really unique because you guys really have two different middle miles. You've got like the traditional broadcast middle mile that's on satellite and other equipment, and then your D2C streaming middle mile, which is your networking software that you've been developing as well too. So can you quickly define like where does the streaming middle mile for you start, like post handoff and whatnot, and then how do you guys approach your VOD tempo releases? Because like you said, you're not necessarily into live events at scale, but you're in VOD events that go through at scale. So what is that? What are the middle mile lessons that you've learned from those challenges as well too?
Sure, I would almost go for three entries on that. But let's talk about. I mean, again, for the longest time, broadcast has operated in a certain way, and what's typical there is just how deterministic it is. I mean, you have your broadcast operating center. That is redundant on so many levels. A/B playout, even different centers regionally and so forth. And then once you get it to the satellite, once you get it to the backbone, that green light's on, you're pretty well good to go. You've got video. Very much different. Again, the world I came from of across the IP networks and I think especially for the VOD piece, kind of a lot of things are going on, a lot of things to be set up. Again, talking about ADR, talking about how many different configurations are going to have for that video. And in a case like us, a decently big back catalog. So automation, observability, all those kind of things are so important in that in the VOD middle mile. And what I'll say, but I'll touch on this later, but there's somewhat of a convergence in the sense that STARZ has always been, the cable channel continues to make money, but cable in general has been going down, and the streaming has been going up. So we're doing some amount of convergence of saying let's give our users a lean back experience and put those great streams we have from broadcast onto our app as well.
Absolutely. Nishant, I want to talk to you. You've got another unique experience over here as well too, because your middle mile is encompassing everything from like signal acquisition all the way to CDN delivery. You've got encoding, packaging, etc. And considering like with Paramount, you handle big events like Super Bowl, and you also handle like day-to-day small tiny events over there as well too. How do you guys work on like what is that best of breed for middle mile and management, and how do you manage like the audience to scale, and when do you do an engineering trade-off when you don't need to do that type of massive scale?
So Bhavesh, on our end, because as you described, the kind of workflows that we have to support is very diverse. They vary from each other quite a bit. We support live linear channels as well, which kind of Rob was alluding to, where you'll on a platform you see the linear streams for the news or some of the vote to live channel as well, which are there continuously. So network channels, vote to live channels, which are true linear completely. On top of it, we support these discrete events, and these events could be one, college level games to the Super Bowl. So since they vary so much, we have built our internal control platform or orchestration tool we support, which is flexible, and we support different workflows. We want to keep this platform to be one stop for our operations team. We want to keep it simple, but give them all the configuration possible out there. So when I say the configuration, it gives you a flexibility of creating an on-prem workflows where encoding on-prem. It gives you flexibility that you are just from on-prem, you are doing mezzanine encoding and doing API encoding in the cloud there. Within the cloud as well, whether you want to just provide a redundancy at the input signal path level, because that's where the network run into any issues mostly, or you want to, if it's a bigger event, you want to provide at different AZ level. So within the region itself, you have different pipeline. So whether you want to have two parallel cloud encoder encoding it or not, whether you want to do it at a regional level where, again, you are covering for an cloud region failure or issues, which sometime on and off does occur. So any tentpole event, any big event you want to cover for those scenarios. Then terms of, these complexity or the flexibility keep going on. Kind of bitrate ladder also varies what kind of a device you are targeting for any tentpole event you want to deliver in HDR. So, those streams or those variant will not work with your low power devices. So we do end up sometimes creating multiple feeds, one going to an premium device and another tailored for a smaller device, which can be hand played in there. Then what kind of monetization you want to bring into these streams. Some are completely premium. We don't want to do any DAI workflows there. We do everything baked in. In that case, how do you track? So you have to provide provision so that you can still track your viewership of ads accurately. For DAI, the tracking mechanism is different. So and depending on our geographical delivery as well. So there is restriction where a stream can be delivered or not, whether it's limited to a specific geographical region or not, and that dictates sometime our DRM flavors as well. That devices will be using it in maybe South America or Europe would not be same, will be using the US. So you have to sometime create those specific package those stream targeting to those device segment as well. So in overall, we try to provide all the customization to operators, try to make it simple. As an engineering team, internal, we try to guide them to choose the right workflows for different scenarios. And so far able to do it, and we continue to evolve. There's more flexibility you add, more complex the system it becomes, and more education need to be imparted to operator teams.
Absolutely, and it's one of those things where it's like it takes a lot of time and effort to make something look simple for your customers, for your downstream service. Like you're providing the service to the other people in your company there. Marcos, I wanted to give you a chance as well too, because I know you're doing something different than the other folks. You're starting to do low latency multi-view streaming, sports streaming at scale as well too. So you've got a chance to actually start from scratch and build up something new and different. So what are your primary encoding and packaging challenges when you're defining your middle mile? And how are you ensuring that you're synchronizing everything across all those multiple feeds when you're maintaining that low latency advantage?
Yeah. Actually, multi-view and low latency are different tracks. But think about low latency. We have here two main transmission scenarios, event-based signals, simple and activation and deactivation of one-off events, and continuous signals. We need to activate the low latency mode in a 24/7 stream and graceful disabling after the content, the football, the soccer match ends. And we need to control this transition. And we made a few so we made a few improvements on our media pipeline, beginning with the encoders. We migrate the protocol to RTMP and SRT. So this contributes specific protocols and prioritize the low latency, and some tunings on our encoders. On the packager side, we testing a cloud packager solution. We initially thought the latency could be an issue here, but we mitigate this, ensuring a robust and optimizing connection with CDN and encoder. So leverages some peer agreements. And finally, on the player level, we have an in-house player here at Globo. So we added support for LLHLS codec for making use of the new chunk size specification, And we implemented the technique to compensate the playback speed. So we maintain the synchronization with the low latency event without this acceleration being perceptible for the end users. And in terms of resilience, we operate in dual stream setup with an active and standby signal in the same game. So in the event of active failure, the player automatically switched for the standby, ensuring the content continued for the users. And moving to the multi-view side, we create a in-house solution. So this is capable to merge up to 6 signals to one final output. And we customize with some templates that we have here. This feature not yet operating in low latency. The technical challenge here is maintain the synchronicity across the input signals. Our solutions address the prioritization and delivering the final output at the pace of the slowest video streaming. This is acceptable because the key value proposition here is the ability to follow multiple games or multiple camera angles simultaneously rather than the latency. So that's the two main solution that we deliver.
That's amazing. I think one of the things that surprised me, we didn't talk about this on the prior call, is I didn't realize that you guys were actually able to dial the latency up and down for your linear stream, so that you can go from a low latency normal stream to a normal latency for high popularity event. I think that's pretty cool. I think,
Yeah.
but doing that, I think that I want to move on to the next topic because that'll tie right onto it.
Before we get too far, could I ask Nishant? It sounds like to me that you've got kind of a lot of different kind of stakeholders and teams for the different types of events you do and so forth. How do you guide those folks? I mean, do you say, here's 3 choices you have, or do you say, hey, we're going to work with you and do what's best for your particular event, or how does it work for you?
It works multiple path. What we have is first of all, we do have our exhaustive guides, which will keep improving for everyone to come and decide what kind of workflow best for their scenarios. Also, we'll work with these all different operations team in kind of from a product point of view, give them guidance as well. These decisions are usually made at a franchise or league level. So, for example, Champions League, we're going to come up with a strategy that for all Champions League event, they will going to follow one standard workflow, and for any different league, for NFL, they're going to follow a different workflow and path. So, when a new league is being planned, during that time, we get to understand what is our scope in terms of what are your targeted viewers here, what kind of workload going to work best, and what are we committed to, what all different outlet is going. So we do have those scenarios as well, like Big Brother live feeds. We do take the single acquisition path only once, but then we distributed multiple paths. So you will see them appearing on the Pluto TV app as well as Paramount TV app as well. Some of the content might be same, some would differ. Some would have the ad workflows would be different in different delivery path. So all these decisions are usually made when we are planning for putting one more league or a franchisee into our workflow system.
Interesting.
I would like to go back, if Bhavesh is okay, to Marco, touch base on a little bit of multi-view as well as low latency work that he is doing. And that's excellent, Marco. I would like to understand, all of multi-view, are they server-side multi-view, or everything is supported to the client side? Because that's the trade-off we are making, and we are trying to juggle in and find the best solution there.
Yeah, right now it's server side because we try to deliver this to all devices, and some devices don't have power to deliver multiple stream. So we merge this in one just for deliver the same experience to all of our users. That's some things we need to address about the interactivity to switch the audio between these channels, but it's a product that we are evolving inside here.
And we are in a kind of similar boat. So for our first iteration of multi-view, which you'll see on the web platform and Paramount Plus, is on the client side, but we got to understand that it's not scalable to all the platforms. We are not able to do it. So we tried switching to the server side, which brings up its own set of challenges, especially if you want to support these multiple languages and multiple caption. If you look at our specs, they have limited nature, and that's how our different encoding partner or vendors have implemented their solution. So we are also navigating that different challenging water to figure it out the best approach there to surface these stream to user in best possible way and give them flexibility or to transition from multi-view to single view as they want to. And in terms of synchronization, at least internally, we are only targeting synchronization for what you call it multi-camera feed from the same event. For multi-game feed, we are not personally so far at that much bothered about the synchronization. Because they are coming from different venues. If they go out of sync for a few seconds, we are a little bit tolerant to that to keep the things more easy and standard to build on.
Yeah, I think you're right. The fear is not for multiple venues. No one really cares that something came in a second before. But if you're watching from the same venue, if a goal happens on one camera and it's not quite there on the second camera, you've lost the audience right there completely. I remember in my old Ice Cream Planet days when we did Sunday Night Football, we had 5 different camera angles, but we was all hardware encoded. So we had little reds, which distributed. We had a time code generator into the little reds, so every server was frame accurate. And so the manifest that was being generated coming from the encoder was the exact same to, the billionth of a second. And so the manifests coming out of there were exactly synchronized, so that the player then was able to client side be able to manage everything and allow you to scrub back and forth and have 4 or 5 camera angles all scrub simultaneously. But I think that's an easy challenge when it's all hardware based and local. Much harder when you're trying to synchronize in the cloud.
For sure.
You're absolutely right.
I'm not much of a bettor myself, but I would imagine that multi-venue, frame accuracy would be great for the betting folks out there.
And you're absolutely right, Bhavesh, there when you talk about synchronization cross cloud, and that is not we are aiming at for multi-view, but for our tentpole event when we do these cross region redundancy for resilience, we do try to synchronize these events, and that challenge is very real. We are trying to rely on putting time code upstream, similar to what you have described, so that before signal even reaches the cloud, it has inbuilt time code in there. And then your encoder is using that time code as a reference. So both of them theoretically will use the same time code as a reference. And, we will hope that both packages, mostly they do, will create similar segments up there. So in case we have to switch, there is less impact.
Preserve the metadata. So let's key off of that, because in order to do all this stuff reliably, that's a huge key. You've got to have make sure your strategy is you're merging all the data, metadata together, the video signals together, and I think we talked about this before. Observability across the board. How do you manage this middle mile and actually see issues that are coming up? Rob, let's start with you. You're looking. You had mentioned before that STARZ is looking at bringing linear channels into D2C soon as well too. So how is that streaming middle mile going to be influenced by all your decades of high redundancy experience from before, and how are you going to create observability and ensure that you're going to have linear streaming reliability?
Sure. Yeah, there's like I say, the linear channel certainly is still a going concern. But for as long as I've been here, it's been fairly segmented in the sense that the common wisdom was VOD was somebody who wants to stream, they're going to want to pick, we don't want to do everything, versus somebody who wants to kind of have that lean back experience. In STARZ and just in the industry in general, I think there's some of that convergence, and there's definitely definitely different worlds to how that goes. And what we're finding is that there's a number of ways to skin that cat. When early on, we kind of just worked with a vendor to say, hey, get us a stream. But now that we're more like integrating it where it comes into our carousels, where it comes into our swim lanes, where it's like, navigate here. So it's more like a feature in there. That's the direction we're going. And what we're finding is that, our BOC still loves all that hardware redundancy and so forth, but when that stream goes out, then that's where we can bring in some of those software tools where we can say, here's how we check video streams, and here's how we check that the packaging and the DRM and so forth is happening in that cloud layer. So we're going, now from the broadcast stream to the cloud, then onto our CDNs and so forth. So as of now, I think those tools that we've built up over our streaming, just built those in-house and using kind of a best of breed when it comes along. Just giving the SRE teams the ability to detect anomalies, to scale, and do all those things in the middle mile that will make it successful.
Mm-hmm. And Marcos, I mean, you guys also run 24/7 watch there as well too. So how do you handle incident response inside there? And what kind of tools are you leveraging in order to correlate all the data from the contribution, the encoding, the CDN logs, etc.? How do you get to a faster mean time to resolution?
So here at Globo, we use several monitoring systems across our platform. Begin with the product side, it's not my direct response team, but I use some metrics on New Relic and other stuff to give some insights about the user behavior. But on video analytics and player metrics, I rely heavily on the NIPA and Paul alongside some complementary in-house solution that integrate with our player. All CDN have a lot of time series databases stored on Prometheus and visualization and Grafana dashboards. We use these metrics for very specific needs. Some parts of these metrics we export to BigQuery, for example, and integrate with some conversational chats to use for teams use on Slack platform or even a web application that we have here. So we have some Telegram bots to notify some manager when we have an issue and requires escalation for the engineering teams. So a lot of, we don't have a bulletproof solution. It's a lot of solutions that help us on that.
Excellent. And before I get to Nishant, I just wanted to say it's 30 minutes into it, and we have our first mention of AI. It took this long to get into it, so we'd have conversational. But it's a very unique and something I'm sure a lot of people are trying to get to, Marcos, which is how do we get an LLM probably communicating and looking at and doing BigQuery lookups and whatnot, and sending that data to a Slack channel or a Telegram or whatnot, so people can now talk to it and say, hey, what happened here, and have it go through without having to give direct access to the data. That's awesome. And Nishant, I wanted to leave this one as last for you because this is your favorite subject as well too. That we talked about. Tell me some examples about how you've what importance you have for observability in the middle mile, because you said that this mid system is the one that's taken for granted, and that really this is what creates expertise for you and excellence.
Absolutely, Bhavesh. And the things that I alluding to, I 100% agree. There is a lot of scope here for AI LLM based consolidation, where we can leverage it to connect the dots between two different systems. So within middle mile, as we have touched earlier, there are a lot of systems which create the middle mile, and more or less all of those systems speak their unique language as such. So we do have observability hooked on every single one of them. We'll monitor them, but there is no simple way to connect them when an incident happens from towards the tail end to the bottom, that where the root cause lies. It requires, as of today, a little bit of human intelligence, your technical expertise of team to dig into it and get to mean time to recovery, reduce the mean time to recovery to fully diagnose it. On our side, we do monitor the health of all the systems. So that is telemetry that we collect in one of these observability system, be it Splunk, New Relic, different teams we have done differently, where all systems are reporting their health. They are reporting on network in and out. That is a good indicator if we are able to measure network out of transcoder for particular stream level or path level, and the same thing being sent to a transport stream, whether that matches or not. As of today, we measure it at individual level. We don't correlate that what is being sent out from the one system is the same amount being received with the delta which is accepted or we agreed upon by the receiving system. So that's one thing. But what we do as of now is we try to look for the trends. If one stream is coming at 25 Mbps, then it should be coming at 25 Mbps plus minus 10%. If it drops down to 10 Mbps, there is something is going on there. When we configure our failovers, some of them we configure automatic on detections. Some of them require us to be manually monitoring it or guarding those. So anything which is bigger tentpole event, we don't want system to flap back by doing this automation failover. You're going from path 1 to path 2, and if it feels at that moment that path 1 is better, going back to path 2. So on those scenarios, though we have automation in place, they are still guarded and require a manual control to go back or switch to a different path. If you move along the lines on the packager side or the origin side, we look into our packager egress load, how many requests are coming from CDN. So, we do a shielding layer. We don't expect that load to change drastically, even if our load is increasing on our CDN. But if it is, again, the trend is the key. You keep monitoring trend over a period of time, period of event, how it is behaving. Is if the bigger anomaly is going to stand out right away, and you have to act on it. You have to proactively act on it before it becomes a failure and get reported on player level observability stack like on Conviva. That's where we don't want to go in there. That anything get reported there. Before that, you want to catch it, act on it, and try to normalize. So all these things we put in play at every single component level. Your packager is talking to your DRM system providers, how the communication looking like, is there any failure there? So we do have a lot of alerting in place where we get alerted whenever we see some unexpected behavior. We do keep these observability dashboards around for any big event, so we can keep a tab of how the trends are following of the information. And after that, we pray that nothing breaks, at least during the event. After event, we take care of.
I think both Nishant and Marcos brought up some points that having kind of that centralized, the secularized event source that all the teams can look at and so forth. The development teams as they're building out their code, and you have the SR teams that are monitoring it and so forth. Being able to kind of have that unified, in that case, Splunk, that we use that a lot as well. They're in the cloud, and being able to make it so you can act immediately if there's troubles, and then, like Marcos mentioned, if there's use that data for analysis, make it either aggregate it into a data warehouse, or in another way, say, hey, let's use this for analysis after the fact. So, having kind of that standardized place for logging and observability is so important, just because there's so many moving pieces as you get into large scale broadcasts and streaming.
Absolutely. And I know video QE is like it's your rear view mirror. It's showing you what has happened and what the people are experiencing of the events that have happened over here right now. And it's very, it's important to look at, and it's important to help you. But Nishant, to your point, if you're catching it in the video QoE side, that means you've already missed it in the actual event part of it over there. The other part about video QoE data being important, though, too, is, Nishant, how did you, in order to define abnormal, you first have to define normal. And I think your video QoE data and other data, you've got to still do that analysis to say, let me look and create my baseline first. everything has to go through. It's not just an instant, hey, it's there, and then you react to every single spike that comes through. You have to understand, is that spike in the normal part of the process, that it happens every week, every month, every hour, whatever it is, or is it something that's truly new?
That's correct, Bhavesh. And a lot of trend analysis goes into it. And in fact, we do have a dedicated team which is focused on QA data analysis, which monitor our VOD and live content continuously. And we do meet regularly to discuss previous week or previous month abnormalities. All the observability stack that we have internally help us to marry them together. So, this is on a retrospective, something we'll call out and we'll look into deeper dive into it and figure it out that this might have caused this particular issue. To take an example, recently, sometime back, we do have a QA drop on Fire TV devices for live events only. And this was not a normal process as such that it has normal that has not been observed multiple times. So only sometime it has been observed. We drill down to figure out the events which are affected, went to their configuration, figure it out why it might be causing it. And while drilling down, we realized that those configuration was encoding configuration set up as to be minimum to be 2 second, maximum to be 6 second segments. So there has been instances when a break message comes, a SCTI message comes at an interval that encoder is forced to create 7.98 second long segment. And that is one which is trick flipping or Fire TV apps there. So to work around with it, we experimented with changing our segment size, minimum segment size, so that we bring this maximum out to be 7 second, and which has helped reduced that chatter a little bit.
I want to get into the middle mile costs as well as revenue that's coming through inside there.
If you don't mind, you set something off with a spike there. Just wanted to follow up on that really quickly. That there's, I think one thing that we've done effectively is when those spikes inevitably happen, taking the time to say, especially with something big like we're a very big AWS shop, and there's been times, where a certain region will go down, a certain technology like a database will go down. Those are always the most fantastic learning opportunities to say, okay, that database went down. Is it a absolute hard dependency, like when we're pulling, decryption keys out of there, or setting up a certain configuration, or can we figure out a way that we can at least be resilient to it in the for over a certain amount of time? There's some dependencies you cannot completely get rid of, but let's especially when they fail, as they sometimes do, you say, how can we work on this?
Absolutely, Rob. And when it comes to live, there's one thing that I cannot stress enough, that one has to test and prepare, and all your preparation is never enough. More you test and prepare, more these nuances you get to know, more you're prepared to handle those. Most of the time, I have seen that whenever issue happens in the live production, is the first time you and your team are coming across into it. You have never run into it. So you will run into those issues. So more you test and prepare, more you'll have some kind of run book to approach it differently. You will rarely run into similar kind of issue which you have run once. So you have covered for it, but something new will pop up, and you need to have all the levers at that time to reduce your recovery time.
Yeah, for certain. I mean, there's at a certain scale, you can't set up like a QA environment or something, or your live event, you can't simulate that you're going to have this many people watching. It's sometimes you just kind of have to say, okay, that hurt us this time. Let's make sure it doesn't get us next time. And the more you do, the fewer those times you hit.
Yeah, and Rob, you're actually perfectly segue back into looking at support, because one of the questions we talked about was QA and support and heartache. I think we've all talked about it. The old devices, you can't QA everything. You're going to see issues that pop up on a device, but you have to support it. Marcos, I know you guys have done something different in this scenario. Let's talk a little bit about the heartache of old devices and what you guys have done to really manage or mitigate that. And then I'll let Rob and Nishant talk about that as well too.
Yeah, I think we have several things that we do. We on the product side, we have a Slim application. So this is a application for old devices, so you can navigate in the content and through the lives more easily. But on the platform side, we employ two key approaches to the QoE. One is the create a bitrate policy by device family. Also, for our live events, we enforce a maximum bitrate policy based on device family. This is a safeguard to ensure to deliver lower resolutions and manageable bitrate for devices that have lower capacity. And another product that we have is a microservice built in-house that orchestrated and deliver a highly tailored video experience based on specific capabilities of the client side. For example, I can deliver 30 frames per second, 30 seconds per second on a Roku sticks, and 60 frames per second to a high-end iOS or HTML player. I can enable or disable low latency according the family device, enable DRM and another specific parameters here. So this will help us to address the long list of devices and some poor devices that we need to deliver.
So your middle mile, you actually create divergent outputs for your light app as well as your main app as well too, and you're measuring the quality of it. Yeah. Rob, how about you guys? How do you guys manage? Because you have a legacy from legacy of legacies. How do you guys manage the?
We do. It's just a part of the way STARZ came up. I mean, there's fairly early to streaming, and so there's been a kind of an ethos, a business decision of saying, if somebody has a device and they want to play STARZ, let's not block them out. I mean, some of the later folks can. Don't need to support some of the older platforms, but we've made the decision to do so. It definitely changes, the amount of ABR tiers, the encoding, even some of the protocols with we just recently stopped supporting smooth streaming, which Bhavesh, you've got some fantastic stories about that, but in 2026, I don't want to be doing the smooth streaming. So, I mean, definitely we err on the side of let's let everybody play. So it impacts us for the platforms we support, the telemetry we get from, if there's some old Android devices somebody bought at Walmart for $20 10 years ago. We're gonna we'll try to get them going too. So that's.
And Nishant, you have like almost an infinite number of outputs for apps that go out there, and an infinite number of devices that can be available. How do you guys manage all the old devices and etc.?
The approach is quite similar to what Rob and Marco both described. We also break it down to both level. Some of things being controlled on the client side at the app level, and some others on the server side in this a decision level. So on the app level, we will limit, we will not publish as such some of the stream which are high quality. So any good event which has a high quality, the premium quality stream and normal quality stream, which we know the premium one will not work well on some platform. So they will not be published. What do I mean by that? So if you have those devices, you will not see any entry point to that stream. So that way we filter it out. We limit some of the functionality, like some of the DVR functionality you will might not see on a lower end devices. On the server side, the approach of filtering it out based on the device capability is also there. So the same stream, when we are trying to put together across both family of devices, depending on the device capability, we're going to filter out some variant and some codec which we know for sure are not going to be handled well. So it's a combination of both of these thing and learning as you go evolving the system. In the end, we want it to be more and more handled on the server side, so our client side work stays light. We don't have to do a lot of handling on these low power devices where the device itself, app itself is making decision. We want to serve them a thing which they can handle and do most of it on the server side.
And I love the fact that, I think one of the biggest complaints we have is that these devices lie. They don't tell you that, hey, great, the user bought a 4K little stick, right, Marcos? But then they stuck it into a 1080p TV, and now they're complaining, hey, why is my quality not coming as, at the full high level? Or, or the other way around, which is they bought a 4K TV and they still have their $20 device, and they're like, hey, why does it look like crap? I paid for 4K and you're not giving it to me. I wish we actually had like a true matrix that showed you from the player or the server side what is the entire path to delivery, so you could adjust the stream that way as well too.
And this is,
I think we've
sorry to interrupt. And on
go
us,
ahead.
this is evolving. I would say that this is more of a we always need to be in defensive mode when we are approaching our low power devices, and we do marry the data from our client side observability coming from ConveyorMux and Power, this similar kind of platform. See that what is being observed there and how our QA is being performed. So we proactively sometimes take some decisions, even though device is reporting some capabilities, we mark those families as not good target for premium stream. So filter them out.
We always see our market share here. So when a device come irrelevant to us, we simply cut off the market. Hopefully next year we have World Cup. So I hope there is a new TVs coming to our market. So that became very easily to us.
Rob, you're about to say something too?
Oh, I was just going to say that there's, on that point, there's one of the ways we do that for those really kind of outlier devices is, just make manifests as that are specific to those, that there's almost kind of like a low power, low end manifest. And there's not as much uptake of those. I mean, when you look at the playback that you would expect, because of your point of devices lying and saying they're doing this, but there's definitely have to make allowances for the crazy amount of variety you have out there in TVs, devices, etc.
I've got one Q&A question I'll go through, then I've got two more questions because we've got about 10 minutes left in the conversation. So Paul asks, how can organizations architect middle mile workflows that balance out transcoding efficiency with the need for ultra low latency delivery? Who wants to pick that one up? Marcos, you're the one who talked about ultra low latency delivery. How do you guys? Let's talk about how do you balance out the transcoding efficiency for versus your normal stream versus your low latency stream?
Yeah, ultra low latency. We are in the beginning. We have some conversation with the industry, but it's not a thing that we actually deliver on the short term. So we see this is a natural evolution of our platform, of our ecosystem. But I believe we have some things to do to deliver low latency at scale for all of our signals that we have, and all deliver with monetization, with DVR, with with DRM. So there's a lot of things we need to cover on low latency before go to another level.
Yeah.
On our end, thankfully, we are not into betting business, so we don't have to be ultra low latency at any moment of time. For us, the stability and quality stream matters a lot. And in that regard, the workflows vary. It depends upon whether it's a broadcast simulcast workflow or is a streaming only workflow. If it's a streaming only workflow, that means you are the only one who is delivering the content. You want to deliver the most premium content, and you can take a little hit on the latency side. If a simultaneously broadcast workflow, which do happen in our world, we want to be as close as to the broadcast. We don't want to be behind the broadcast for delivery. The lever that we use on our end is we do play around with the segment size. So, and this goes to the same thing which I spoke earlier. We do test a lot around it with different segment size configurations, whether which one we're going to do the best for us from the delivery point of view. On the CTN side as well, you play around with the TTL values to see how much it can affect your workflow in the end to deliver the most premium content. So that's what we do on our end. You will see us using different segment length depending upon different workflow we are targeting to cover the latency. Lower the segment length, the better the latency would be, lower the latency would be, but it brings those challenges whether all players will be able to handle it, whether CDN can deliver that fast or not. So if you're going to the scale, then you have to pull back your latency need a little bit, and that's what we do.
For sure. One of the questions that I was going to ask and I forgot to ask earlier is about talking about, and I know Marcos, we talked about before, when you're doing low latency, you turn off DAI. But Nishant, do you have some different things that you guys do because you're trying to do DAI, but you're also doing during like the large tentpole events? What are some of the challenges that you face doing DAI normally versus doing DAI for a tentpole event?
So a normal regular workflow where we are talking about 100K viewer or up to 1 million viewer, DI usually work very well. The solution out there, they work well, they scale well. When we start going north of 1 million concurrent user, that's the uncharted territories. It's more of a what do you call it, egg and chicken case where no one has tested it. So we don't want to be the one who's risking it. But till the time no one risk it, we'll not find out whether DI is able to handle that enough or not. And then the DI component is stream stitching as well as the backend server call to fetch those ad breaks. How we try to mitigate for long event is we pre-plan those backend server calls. So we know what kind of decisioning in a cohort the backend server will be making. So that's the one way which for a middle level event we take into account. For any event which is complete tentpole like a Super Bowl, we try to stay away from DI delivery. We do burn-in ads, but we account for tracking of these. So within our system, we develop internal leverage where our transcoding pipeline insert those ID3 metadata into the workflows. We update our client to do the beaconing based on these ID3 metadata that is receiving. And for the middle one, we make use of early ad break notification. So to our DI service, we give them a head start as soon as we get to know, and then encoder itself that ad break is coming. So it gives a decent amount of head start for it to make calls to ad server, fetch it, be prepared when client actually make those ad calls.
And Rob, I don't think you guys do ad insertion, right? People have bought the subscription. Is that correct?
We do not do AVOD. We are SVOD.
Right. So for you, your most important thing for you is to save money, save costs, because you've got the money at this point. What factors drive your decision making when you're buying hardware to deliver the content to the users who paid for it, but to try to conserve the cost as much as possible?
I'd say, we on our streaming side, we definitely have our cloud team has built expertise over the years to really scale appropriately. Ours is fairly predictable in the sense that our originals, our tentpole productions, those are the ones that bring in huge spikes and so forth. And then but probably what we're in the middle of right now is this transition of saying, let's get some more of our broadcast onto our app. And there's different ways you can go about that. working with going from the broadcast to a vendor like AWS and some of their stuff. All the vendors, basically want to put their racks in the cloud and so forth. So, and then there's some custom work you can do for that. So for building out different, encoding options and DRM handling and so forth. So we're really kind of in the middle of that, and it's all those things that you talk about of like the scalability, reliability, latency is not so much a concern for us on that regard, but cost is there as always.
Sure. Excellent. And then I know we're running out of time. We're about 2.5 minutes left. We didn't really get too much of a need to dive into AI, but we did for a little bit. That part's great. I want to give you guys the stage, like 45 seconds. What big topic or what big idea do you want to leave the audience with as they leave this conversation? Marcos, why don't we start with you?
So I think about I think about the middle mile. This we don't think this is a generic service. We think it's a very smart layer that delivers a lot of experience, and we use that part a lot for delivering new things this year. We delivered the scale of the low latency, 60 frames, and the interactivity on the multi-view, and on global part, I believe it's just the beginning. We're trying to bring more interactivity and use that middle mile to deliver that. So there's a lot of things that coming from that part, and that is a key value to deliver. Is a thing that we can deliver a lot of value for the end user. So I think one of the most important parts on the media pipeline for me.
Excellent. Nishant, how about you?
From my side, I would say that whoever is involved in delivering or building solution for live video delivery, I live by one rule that you can do it only once. That's the thing with live. You'll not get a chance to do it twice. So take your time in planning and preparation, and test it out different scenarios. Have your run book ready at least for as many use cases or major use cases. If you run into an issue, what the path you want to go. More you practice, better you would be ready on that day. I'm sure, as I mentioned earlier, that problem that you run into will not be written down in any one of those run book, but still it will give you some leverage to go and find a solution.
Excellent. Rob?
I'd probably just say that the industry has been banging the drum forever for move to the cloud and so forth, and it's definitely happened. But a broadcaster on the level of STARZ, there's still there's still choices to be made, and there's still this kind of operation of saying, how does that broadcast, with the many choices we have, what is the best for us? So there's, between vendors, hardware, software, all that stuff.
Gentlemen, thank you so very much. I really enjoyed the conversation. I really appreciate your time that you took to come talk to everybody about this stuff. Steve, back to you.
Yeah, this has been great. Thank you all so much. It's great to have a range of perspectives and everything. It's been a terrific discussion. Before we go, I would like to take care of one piece of business. The music that you heard as we were coming in at the beginning of the panel was Shortberry Straw Cake. You got that right, by Sheila E., and of course featuring a whole lot of Prince. And the first person to identify it correctly was Sarge Sargent, who will actually be joining us for our next session. So congratulations, Sarge, and watch your email in the next week or so, and you should receive information on how to claim your prize. So thanks again to all of you, and please join us back here at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 11 a.m. Pacific Time, for how to streamline live streaming workflows for greater cost efficiency. Hope to see you then.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye-bye.